Hello, and welcome to another edition of Levi SPort. My name is Levi SPort, and today I'm here with a new guest analyst, Zane Hankin. Welcome, Zane.
Thank you for having me. It's a great honor.
Of course. Zane is one of my top Major League Baseball analysts. He's been in the business for years, and today we're just gonna get the lowdown about this upcoming season. And Zane, it's less than 100 days. A couple months, and we're gonna be cheering on our favorite players once again.
Oh yeah, I'm so psyched for baseball.
So let's just get right into it. Okay. Who's your favorite for this year?
Well,
Who do you think's gonna go all the way? Let's do it. Let's start it.
Well, the Chicago White Sox. They've been very busy during the offseason, getting Adam LaRoche, obviously a free agent from the Nationals, getting Jeff Samardzija, and that really helps their pitching because now they have Chris Sale and Jeff Samardzija and Jose Quintana. So, yeah, they have three great pitchers. They might have to focus on their fourth and fifth spot pitchers. But another great help for their bullpen is David Robertson, of course, from the Yankees. But, of course, they have Adam Eaton with Jose Abreu, the new rookie, AL Rookie of the Year, and Adam LaRoche. So, I think if you really looked at their playing of last year in the 2014 season, you could really inspect how well they play baseball. Most people don't think the White Sox are good, but if you really watch some of their games, they do play really well baseball.
I like them. I'm not sure this year. I like them for the future. I think they're really setting up for the now. They're not really getting long-term players, but I love it, and I think this is really going to help them. Maybe next year they'll be contenders. I'm not sure this year. I think they need to get their groove a little bit. They're all on a new team playing together. But I have two players I think these are going to be the keys to the game. They have one of the best they have one of the best left-handed relievers in the game in Zach Duke. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. And this bullpen is going to be the key to it. Last year, the White Sox weren't losing games because they couldn't score. They have Jose Abreu, they have Adam Eaton, they have the players to score. They have the ability to score. They have the starting pitching to keep the game close. But they don't finish out games.
Of course.
And that lost them a ton of games. And I think Zach Duke and this guy, I think, could be one of the better players this upcoming year. Better relief pitchers. Dan Jennings. Traded from him for the Marlins. I think he might be their top reliever besides David Robertson, which is he's an incredible closer, and they're getting a whole deal there. And I think the White Sox are in for a lot. I think LaRoche is going to teach Jose Abreu some things. Jose Abreu is one of the best young players in his first year, and this is just one of the best young teams and up-and-coming teams. And they did a lot of great. They had arguably the best offseason trade for Jeff Samardzija, which they basically gave the Athletics nothing for him.
Of course.
And it was great. So White Sox, you like them. So let's go to the other part of Chicago. Everyone's been talking about them. Very excited. New manager, new starting pitcher, a very young team. What do you think of the Cubs?
I've always liked Joe Maddon as a manager. He seems like a great guy. He is a great guy. Coaching the Tampa Bay Rays, of course. He was a pretty good manager. I have to give him his props. Different team, whole new players. Of course, he's seen them play. I want to see how he asserts himself. Of course, he's promised wins. I want to see what he does in the games because I believe they do have a good team. Getting what I think is a great big contribution to their team, John Lester, will help. Also, Jake Arrieta, who was currently on the team. He was great. He was phenomenal. Yeah. 8 innings, most games. They got George Soler, who did pretty well. Yes, they got him in the halfway during the season, a little bit after the All-Star game. But I think that if Joe Maddon can assert himself to these players, I think they will win a bunch of games. I think that they have the potential in their players, in their hitters, pitchers. I think they could. The only thing for me is I don't believe their bullpen is strong enough to carry them far enough. As we know, the Detroit Tigers lost to the Orioles. For me, the one reason is their bullpen. They did not have a strong bullpen, therefore they could not win the game. They put in their relievers. Phil Koch did not do a good job. Chamberlain, they did not do good jobs. They just did not have deep enough bullpen or even strong enough bullpen to win that game. And that's why they lost that series, and that's why they did not continue.
I agree completely. I think they truly only have one relief pitcher who's makes a difference. I think Neil Ramirez is amazing, and I don't know why he's not their closer. I mean, Hector Rondon is, he got the job done towards the end of the season, but he struggled. We'll see. He could turn it around this season.
Yeah.
I think their pitching is good enough to lead them, but I think the real key here is if they want to do well this season, their core young guys have to come in right at the beginning. They have to play to their potential. They can't have a rookie slump. They can't be striking out of something. They have to mature right away if this team wants to win this season. They're core players of Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant, who could be a potential MVP. Love that guy. Javier Baez. He struggled. He struggled a little, but he needs to live up to his potential. Addison Russell. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with Sterling Castro. Maybe trade him for prospects or something. But Sterling Castro is actually he was an All-Star last year. Addison Russell, a great young player that got in the Jeff Samardzija trade last year.
Chris Coughlin, he really stepped up last year, I believe. He was hitting in the one spot. He moved around 1 spot, 8 spot. But honestly, he was pretty solid in the hitting, and he's a good outfielder. He is. And he's a good veteran for these young players. And the guy I'd say he's a little underrated, a possible MVP candidate this year, Anthony Rizzo. Oh, yes. Anthony Rizzo. He is a power hitter, great first baseman, and, he did really well last year. I think people might have underestimated him. Again, Cubs, not a great team. But this year I feel that they can really connect because, of course, Javier Baez, George Soler, they both got them towards the end of the season after the All-Star game, which I think they played some good baseball. They played some bad baseball. Of course, Javier Baez striking out 2 to 3 times a game did not help. Yes, he did have maybe 10 more home runs, same with George Soler. But I think this year they have better chemistry. And I think with that power of the team can take them. Of course, which I want to go back to the pitching. If they do have a solid enough rotation that could take them 8 innings a game. And if they could do that, their closers will only need to do 1 inning per game, which helps the closers by they don't have to pitch a lot every day, and they can just shut them out quickly, easily, and seal it up.
I agree, and I think this is actually a very underrated rotation. Obviously, John Lester, which is one of the best signings of the season, amazing. They're going to have him for the next 6 years. An interesting part of his contract, for 46 hours a year, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the number. He gets to use Theo Epstein's private jet. Interesting part of his contract.
Pretty great.
I mean, John Lester, private jet. Pretty amazing. But anyway, continuing from things that we don't get to have. I love this guy, Jake Arrieta. He hasn't got enough praise. I don't understand. Last year he led a Cubs team. He was their number 1 starter. And no one's talked about him. I think this guy is great. He was a steal in the trade with the Orioles. And he is by far their number 2 starter. They also have Travis Wood, who I think could have a comeback year. He struggled a little last year, but he had his ups and downs. I think he's a good and up-and-coming player.
I think people like Travis Wood. Of course, yeah, like you mentioned, he did struggle a little bit. I feel now he could get a little bit better. He's now a stronger player. But, of course, Jake Arrieta, he was not... People didn't think that he would be as good as he was, but he really was. You know, he really stepped it up. I know I definitely had him on my fantasy baseball team, and he put up numbers that were incredible. So I think with this rotation, you know, Jake Arrieta, John Lester,
Jason Hamill, and he did. We're all forgetting this, but he, before the trade to the Athletics, he was a great pitcher. He had a really good year, and also Kyle Hendricks, great rookie. He was a rookie of the year candidate. He played great for them. He had a sub three ERA. He played amazing. Hiroshi Wada, I think he should be starting actually instead of Travis Wood. He's a veteran and he played great for them. He also had a sub 3 ERA. Jacob Turner maybe turns it around from a rough Marlins year. And they also have Felix Dumbront, who they got Dubront, who they got from the Red Sox, who I think is he might have a comeback here. They have a lot of interesting players. Their whole team is has many interesting players.
A player we did not talk about, Luis Valbuena. You know, he
had a good year for them.
He had a really good year. He's a great third baseman, a great hitter as well. And I believe with this rotation, this lineup of all these great players, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Cog, Jared Soler, you know, Luis Valbuena, Starlin Castro, and Javier Baez. Like, all of these players combined can really make a difference, you know?
I agree. I also think, I agree. And I think it's a great young team, and they could go far. So what is your prediction for them this year?
My prediction, I think they will go to the postseason. I think they might go to the division champions and possibly the... I don't think they're going to go to the World Series, unfortunately, because I don't think they're strong enough of a player. But yes, I believe that they will do good, along with the White Sox that we talked about earlier.
My thing with the Cubs is I think they're going to... I'm not sure this is their year either, because they're young. I think they're going to do much better than they've done for centuries. I think they have a shot at the postseason. I don't think they'll go far. This is a division that's not that strong. Behind the Cardinals, the Pirates are always, borderline playoffs. You know, the Cubs could easily jump over them, even though that hurts my heart. I'm a deep Pirates fan. But the only challenge for them, the Brewers are, but the only challenge for them is the Cardinals. If they can compete with the Cardinals, that's the key. And if their bullpen can step it up, that's the key. And I think this team, who knows, they have unlimited potential, this team. Okay, a lot of talk on the Cubs. Let's move on to another team who's struggled for years and years and years. In this division, they talk about the Dodgers. They talk about the Giants. This division, an interesting division. Behind the Giants and Dodgers, not much. The Diamondbacks, Rockies, and Padres. Now, the Padres are very interesting. This is one of the most talked about teams this year. What is your thought on them, Zane?
Alright, well, it was a heartbreaker for the Dodgers, you know. Losing Matt Kemp. It's an awful thing, living in Los Angeles and being a Dodger fan, to have someone who's been on your team for 11 years. So, I want to see how he does on the Padres. You know, he hasn't moved states, and most people think you either do better or much worse than you do when you move. But I feel for Matt Kemp, I feel that he will do the same, if not worse. The only reason that I don't feel he would be better is because the Dodgers gave him support. The fans loved him.